Also, the Taliban now do have veteran here. There's no way you're going outside the wire with iron sights on your service rifle. Yeah, but that's America, though. Americans don't let their fucking American troop casualties in comparison to like a country like Russia, for example, is not a good comparison because what is every fucking boot like at least 100 grand or some shit. You know what I mean? It's 100 grand worth of gear that you have on your fucking cornbread body that just got shipped off to fucking Baghdad. It's just not. You're then also on top of that you have millions and millions and millions of fucking dollars of superior you have millions and millions and millions of dollars of superior air coverage on top of that. You're kitted out the ass. You fucking get shot at from some Afghan dude, maybe the one guy in the village that has a scope, shooting at you from a fucking mountaintop, and you dig into a trench and you call for air support, and then they fucking zap the entire line of sight until you're fine. Not even millions and millions, of billions of dollars. I don't know how much a kit costs. I don't know. The gear is not 100K. It's expensive. Not cheap. Let's see. How much is the Army infantry? Okay, I was wrong. I said 100K. They're saying $17,500 worth of gear, according to the Associated Press. Wait, what? The minuscule cost of gearing up a Chinese soldier? What the fuck? What is this article? Nearly half the equipment value comes from the soldier's most important tool, the standard issue Type 95 automatic rifle of Chinese. Wait, what? Oh, it's just the in comparison. That was a rich guy take us on. This is actually surprisingly cheap. This is a lot cheaper than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was actually. My man said that's a rich guy take. Bitch, this rich guy's paying for that fucking gear. Shut the fuck up. What do you mean? Rich guys are literally directly paying for this, okay? Straight up, out of pocket. Yeah, we're out here playing like we're out here adopting a vet, or not a vet, God forbid, of course, we don't take care of veterans, obviously. I meant an active duty service member. Okay? we're it's like on television. It's like you too can fund the tactical gear of of a Army infantry member going out to war. Isn't the training worth millions? I mean, yeah.
The next day, Ophelia decided to go to Belgium, where she has some friends, moving ever further away from the home and loved ones they left behind.
Алло, мама. Привет. Мы сейчас на вокзале в Пшемышле. Мы уже готовы выезжать с котами и Вильямом в Европу дальше. Мы едем в Бельгию на автобусе Фликсбас. Так что не волнуйся, все будет хорошо. Пожалуйста, береги себя и не находись возле окон, хорошо? Давай, доедай быстрее, допивай сок, если ты его не допил. Документы.
Ну, во сколько ждет?
Через 30 минут мы выезжаем. Вільям, одівай курточку. Курточку одівай. До побачення, дуже дякую. До побачення.
До побачення.
Ручку дай, держи. Окей. Ви можете йти. Дуже дякуємо вам. Бережіть себе. Дякую, герої слава. Так, видно Зевса? Дома Зевсочка. Не надо это открывать, Вильям, не надо. It's our bus. Ага, 1360. Oh, yes, oh, yes. Мы это сделали. Круто. Это было сложно, но возможно. Так что нет ничего невозможного, главное, верь в себя. Нет ничего, чтобы не было в твоих силах. Всегда себе это повторяй.
As the Russian military escalates its attacks on humanitarian corridors and targets civilians, the exodus out of Ukraine is only expected to grow. And the country that people left behind may not be there when they return.
Нам сегодня позвонили соседи, которые остались с нами, им некуда выехать. Они сказали, моего дома нет, потому что упал снаряд. Разлетелся полностью мой дом.
Dude, this is like the weirdest people. Like, I'm not having a conversation with you, dude. Take a week off, okay? People that think I'm like directly having a convo with them is just like so
У
wild
меня квартиры
sometimes.
нет, у меня дома нет, куда мне вернуться? Я хочу вывести ребенка. Все, я больше ничего не хочу. Я хочу, чтобы наши мужчины вернулись сюда и отвоевали землю нашу. Все. Это наш дом. Просыпайся. Егор, просыпайся. Да, я знаю, мы маленький. Ты все проснулся. Сейчас пойдем уже, сейчас он видит, и пойдем уже, пойдем, где будет тепленькая, тебя согрею, хорошо? Хорошо?
We're just at the start of this horrifying humanitarian crisis. While most people are escaping through Poland, there are many routes out of and back into Ukraine. Hasan has been covering this war for years. She's with us now.
The mayor of
You've just
Melitopol,
traveled
Ukraine, has been
into Ukraine
abducted.
from
Oh
the
no.
Hungarian border. What was the situation like there?
Well, we saw families who were traveling in the opposite direction on their way into Hungary. There were women who were in tears, children who were clasping their teddy bears, and men who were
Yes,
saying
it's
goodbye
me.
to their
I'm
families
there.
because they couldn't
I'm
cross over
actually very pretty in real life. I'm Hind Hasan.
with them. But as well as the people who were
And
on,
they have a cool
on foot,
accent.
there were many people in cars. The traffic was incredible. In fact, there were cars backed up for miles and miles because even though around 2 million people have fled the war in Ukraine, there are many others who are still trying to leave as the war continues. After we crossed into Ukraine, we then headed to a city called Lviv, and then from there we've come here, a place called Vinnytsia, which is also a city but further east. Both of these places are considered to be relatively safe. They are being used as transit locations for people who are fleeing the fighting. But even though this city is safe, there is still a threat as Russian troops advance. In fact, just a few days ago, the airport, the city's airport, which is just 10 kilometers from here, was bombed.
So we know who's leaving, but what about those coming in, joining the fight too?
If you spend any time at the border or if you travel into Lviv, it's very likely that you're going to come across a foreigner who says that they've come here to fight. In fact, members of our team have met multiple people who say they've just done that. One man said that he was a 53-year-old Canadian who'd paid for an advertisement on Canadian radio station in order to make a call for donations to help him travel to Ukraine and fight. And as a result, people donated money. Somebody actually paid for his plane ticket into Poland, and it was at the Polish-Ukrainian border where he met a member of our team and asked him where he could get hold of an AK-47 from because he'd heard that guns were being given out to people who were willing to come and fight in Ukraine. There's also a 24-year-old man from Hong Kong who said that he was ready to die fighting for democracy. But the issue is that there are a number of people who've come here to fight and they don't have any military experience. They've never been in a war, they've never been in a conflict, and they're taking unofficial routes, traveling by themselves in order to try to get to the front line and fight. That could be very dangerous for themselves, for other soldiers, and also for civilians. But there are people who
Thank you. Fucking people finally saying it, dude. It's just so weird that like for the past couple of weeks now almost, like people have just been celebrating these like brave heroes going out to fucking Ukraine to defend Ukraine, and it's like, dude, are you insane? Like, even the Ukrainian territorial defense is terrifying, okay? Activating, like, random Ukrainians and giving them a fucking gun and being like, all right, you're the territorial defense now. Like, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Like, that, even that is going to lead to civilian casualties and friendly fire. Trained, armed military members who have been doing this for like fucking 5 years, 6 years, still end up shooting one another, like, regularly, okay? Friendly fire is a very common occurrence. Friendly fire is a common occurrence in the police force, too. And then you got motherfuckers who don't know how to speak Ukrainian, Russian, nothing, running into Ukraine and being like, that's right, brother, you give me a goddamn gun and a fucking wish. And the only reason why other countries' police officers don't fucking kill one another is because they're not armed. Okay? Yes, if you don't have a gun, if all of your fucking, beat cops don't have AR-15s, then the likelihood that you're going to shoot one another diminishes. Because guess what? Guns in the hands of as many people as possible is never good. That's why America is like fucking PvP zone.
Who are taking more official routes. The Ukrainian government is trying to encourage people to come to Ukraine and fight, and they say that so far 20,000 people from 52 different countries have actually signed up to join the Ukrainian military. They're going to Ukrainian embassies, signing up for the International Legion, and then making their way into Lviv, where they hope to be processed and then assessed and join the military. And they also include ex-soldiers or people who have previous military experience.
Hind Hasan, thank you. For the last few years, even mentioning the word Ukraine to many Republicans could get a response about Hunter Biden or Burisma or a perfect phone call. But how you talk about a place changes after it's been invaded. The GOP is now trying to find ways to keep it partisan without putting too much focus on the conservatives that actually think Putin's not all that bad.
Normally, I'd be like, come on, bro. There's no Republicans that are pro-Putin, but, like, there kind of are. It's very strange to see. But, like, low-key, some Republicans are, like, it does feel like they're pro-Putin. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it certainly feels like you got homies out there that are just like, yeah, he's actually destroying, pedophile rings or something in Ukraine. Like, it's weird, man. It's weird.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be back where it all started with the great patriots of CPAC. Thank you very much. Reporters asked me if I thought President Putin was smart. I said, of course he's smart, to which I was greeted with, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. I'd like to tell the truth. Yes, he's smart.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine happened to coincide with this year's Conservative Political Action Conference. Former President Trump used it as a chance to revise a statement he made that Russian President Vladimir Putin's plan to invade was, quote, genius.
Thank you very much.
For many attendees, this year's CPAC has been about threading a needle, figuring out how to stay pro-Ukraine while remaining loyal to Trump.
Recently, the former president reacted in a podcast and said that he thought that it was genius.
Fucking Nelk Boys, right? Or no, that's not the Nelk Boys. This is the CPAC. So it was another podcast that he went on. It wasn't even a podcast. It was a conservative radio show where he literally went on and was like, genius what Putin is doing. Invading Ukraine, genius. Which literally is like, is just not genius, okay? It's not. It is not a genius move at all to fucking invade Ukraine. Even if you do not give a fuck. What? What? I mean, this is old, right? It's old as fuck, but even then it's like, what the happening? guys were like really patriotic and hated other countries. I guess that doesn't extend to like countries that you think help you
that Putin
make
had
Trump
invaded
win or
Ukraine.
something.
Do you think it was genius that he did that?
I think it's smart that he waited until Trump was out of office because he knew that what the consequences would have been when Trump was in office. We know that Trump is a person who doesn't care about the international protocol, which I believe can be either a good thing or a bad thing. But in the case of what we're seeing in Ukraine, it would have been a really good thing for Trump to say, hey, NATO, you have to do something.
Are you at all worried that maybe there are parts of the Republican Party that are moving in a direction of saying things like, oh,
My hottest take on this is that like, and this is in agreement with like libs even, which is that the Putin saw no reason to invade Ukraine under Donald Trump because Donald Trump was already undermining NATO's sphere of power, at the very least, like calling NATO's actions into question regularly, even if it's from a reactionary point of view that was like idiotic. And therefore, there was no reason because Ukraine was never under threat and ultimately, never under threat of like Western influence. Donald Trump was unironically dismantling American sphere of influence and obliterating single-handedly the soft power that like Americans and the goodwill that Americans had either one cultivated, okay, over the course of many, many years post World War II, or had enforced upon the planet. So on that area, like his isolationism and his like reactionary perspective literally was part of the reason why no one really saw the need to defend. The Russia takes are turning me into a lib. What do you mean? It's just like it did not need to. No one ever saw the need to do anything because America was doing everything on its own. But that's part of the reason why a lot of liberals hate him because, they do see Donald Trump undermining U.S. influence globally as a bad thing because ultimately they want the United States to maintain the global hegemonic status it has.
openly supporting Putin or openly supporting more autocratic views of government.
No, I don't. I don't know.
You haven't talked about Grimes and Chelsea all day because you're jealous? Why would I be jealous? And also, I'm not talking about it because I already briefly mentioned it in the beginning, and two, it's kind of weird to talk about, gossip shit about a Hasanabi head, and what they are choosing to do or whatever with potential guests of the show, or friends of the show. Okay.
I'm thinking it's a Republican or Democrat thing. I think it's a international problem, and I think we need to all work together to solve it.
But most Republicans in high places have taken a less we're all in this together approach and have used the war in Ukraine to attack President Biden. Biden has led the charge on international sanctions on Russia and has supplied arms to Ukraine, things that some speakers at CPAC still found ways to criticize.
You were very direct in your speech that you gave a few minutes ago, saying that Putin is not to be admired, that he's not a friend. Former President Trump said recently that he thought it was a smart, genius move of Putin to go and invade Ukraine. What do you
I can't believe I'm doing this, but like, it's not like Donald Trump was saying like Putin is brilliant to invade Ukraine. He was saying it's brilliant to invade Ukraine, not on my watch. I would have shown him how it, what's what. Okay. Like, isn't that what he was saying? Am I wrong? Wasn't he literally just saying like, I would have fucking destroyed him. I would have destroyed I would have destroyed Putin if he fucking invaded on my watch. He was too scared to do it. Like, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to like, run the Trump loves Putin stuff, but viewing it from how a narcissist would have thought about it, I think you're spot on. No. He actually did literally say, I thought he did follow that up by saying like Joe Biden is weak and you're wrong. He was saying it was smart to take land. Oh, okay. Then that's crazy. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood because I thought I did feel like I feel like I've heard him say that it was like it was when they went into Donbass, he probably thought that was going to be the extent of it. No, he said that he's smart because Putin is strong, therefore smart. So what you're saying is that the leftist social media complex is unfairly taking down the Nelk video? I don't know, but I watched it and I would never take that down. Are you kidding me? He on the Nelk Boys podcast, I'm pretty sure he like followed it. So Putin is now saying it's independent, large section of Ukraine. I said, how smart is that? And he's going to go in and be a peacekeeper, Trump said. They're going to keep peace, all right. No, but I think of it. Here's a guy who's very savvy. I know him well, very well. Guys, we're talking about a guy who literally said we should slap our like F-16s or whatever with Chinese gear on it and Chinese flags and blow Russian troops, okay? Like, listen, it's not like he's the smartest guy out there. He's like, to that guy, of course Putin is brilliant. He's a brilliant tactician. Think about it, folks. One time I saw him walking and chewing gum at the same time. Believe me, folks, it's crazy. So many people are doing this. That's right. One time I saw Vladimir Putin. He was able to both rub his nipple in a circular fashion while also simultaneously scratching his hair left to right. Believe me, very difficult to do. Not many can do it, folks. Oh, Jesus Christ. He said it was worse. He said F-22, which only the U.S. fly. They'll never see it coming.
What do you think when you hear that?
Well, I think what the president would tell you is that this didn't happen when he was president. We didn't have an invasion of Taiwan. Afghanistan didn't fall. We didn't have an invasion of Ukraine. So the president took a piece to his strength. He got along well with people. He was cordial with these other leaders, but he was also, he was tough as nails. And the Russians would have never tried to do this with President Trump in power.
Blaming Biden.
Yeah, didn't he say that? By the way, this would have never happened with us. On the Nelk Boys podcast, Trump definitely did say it wouldn't have happened. Like, he wouldn't have imagined invading Ukraine under my watch or something.
Biden has offered conservatives in Washington a way to sidestep the issue of Trump's words while also trying to make partisan gains.
The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan was the beginning of the end. Putin watched that, and he saw a weak and ineffective president.
Former President Trump recently has not been critical of Putin, and he, in fact, has said that he thinks Putin is smart, and he said that it was
If your takeaway
genius.
of the problem with Ukraine is what Trump said, you're missing the point.
He's the leader of your party, right, sir?
No. When he was president, Ukraine wasn't invaded. When he was president, he gave them lethal weapons, not blankets. Putin's not a genius, and Biden's not brilliant.
Former President Trump has not been very critical of Putin at all. I'm wondering if you think that that is helpful right now, that the former president is saying things like he thinks Putin is a genius, that, he said that it was a genius kind of move of him to invade Ukraine.
I think the only thing that matters is what the current president is saying or not doing or hasn't done. That's what I'm focused on. I mean, Trump isn't even on Twitter.
Republicans in Congress aren't just having to account or not account for what Trump says, they're also having to account for his power with voters. Former Senator.
Do you guys see that? Wait, hold on.
Republicans in Congress aren't just having to account or not account for what Trump says, they're also having to account.
Remember that? I used to have that. Damn, I missed that, dude. That shit went for like $6,000 on the. I sold that to raise funds for Alvius. I miss it every day, though. We need to bring it back, folks. Trumbo, yeah.
Account for his power with voters.
$10K? Oh, not even $6,000. $10K.
Former Senator Bob Corker was the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. He was also one of the only Republicans to actually criticize Trump during his presidency. He says he retired on his own terms, but some in Washington see his case as a warning about going against Trump.
What do you make of the GOP response that you've seen?
It was like $100 cutoff. What the cutout? What the fuck, lol? Yeah, I fucking had it. It was a staple piece of my stream that I signed for charity. Dude, people are so weird. People are so stupid. Guys, the person who bought it for charity to raise money for Alvius, friend of the show Maya's conservation.
In Washington in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
I'm not aware of all the comments. Let me just say this. And yeah, it's been
I
surprising.
think people forget that, like, you know, there's a lot of negative information out there about me and how I fucking hate charity and I like spit on poor people or whatever. I forget that, like, no, I regularly do, you know, and use this community and you guys routinely to raise funds for good causes. Of course, you'll never hear about that because the people that only talk about it are my haters who say I don't actually fucking, you know, I don't do that. But
Surprising to me to see a sort of a dogma or an approach to Russia, really by both sides of the aisle, but definitely by the Republican side for many, many years, and then to see some viewpoints, especially that would view Russia more favorably than a democracy that we've tried to pull towards us for many years.
There was a poll that Washington Post did recently that said that 89% of the Republicans that responded said that Putin was a, quote, very strong or somewhat strong leader. Only 9% of the Republicans that responded to the poll said the same thing of Biden. What do you make of those kinds of facts?
I do wish that that Biden were a little stronger. If you look at the elected officials in the Senate, I don't think that feeling is held by except a few. My guess is that would be the same in the House. But I don't know what has potentially popularized Putin in the eyes of some in our country, but I'll tell you, I can't imagine that today people are feeling the same way.
Do you think it's because someone like President Trump goes on stage at CPAC and praises him in front of a crowd?
For some reason, there's been that affection there, and I don't know what that has, I don't know where that came from, and certainly, you know.
Trump withheld military aid on Ukraine in 2019 while trying to dig up dirt on Biden. Dude, that's ridiculous. It's not like he didn't give any fucking military aid to Ukraine in 2019, okay? I hate that argument. Like, in the lead up to the part of that problem wasn't that he withheld military aid. The part of the problem was he was using, like, the American State Department interests, okay, with our foreign allies being utilized against our foreign adversaries for personal gain in an American election. The actual part of the problem isn't that he was, like, withholding aid. He was using that as a way to get fucking... it's just corruption. I don't know how else to describe it. People are like, oh, I can't believe he withheld aid without, like, mentioning the actual side of the aid that was the real issue.
You know, when the elected president says things like that, it affects people's thinking.
I think there's kind of a feeling in Washington that Democrats are worse than Putin. Some Republicans would rather criticize the current president than criticize Putin in a serious way. And I wonder what you think of that, how that affects the party. Does that influence people in the party to think more positively about someone like Putin?
I think that that's evident, not necessarily about the Putin issue, but I think on both sides of the aisle, it's a skins and shirts game. And, you know, the animus towards each other is pretty incredible. And the kind of things that people say to each other or say about the opposition is just beyond belief.
That's it for Vice News Tonight.
Republicans and their support for Putin, or their the weird like takes about Putin, will never not be strange to me.